Hi there, I'm Tana Bengoa, and I'm so excited today to be here with my niece, Leigha Totten. And Leigha has had quite a journey in her young life. She's 28, right, Leigha?
Yes, I'm 28.
And she's just going to share with you a little bit about today, about the things that she's faced in her life growing up, where it kind of led her, some recent developments that have really brought her kind of out on the other side. And she's experiencing life in a whole new way right now, and she wants to share that with you. So Leigha, thank you so much, and I'm just going to let you start where you feel like you need to start, want to start, and take it where you want to go.
All right, so I have had many experiences in my life. Growing up, I didn't have the best childhood, but I don't blame that on anybody. I think that we all go through everything for a reason. And it makes you who you are. So, I mean, we didn't grow up with the most amount of money. We were in and out of shelters, had to move around a lot. So I had to meet new friends, and I have drug and alcohol addiction, depression, anxiety in my family. So I started suffering with that at a pretty young age. I decided to start using drugs and alcohol when I was about 15 years old, and I got very physically addicted to painkillers probably when I was about 16 and a half, and I tried to quit several times, and I would just get so sick, and so pretty much I was in bondage to my addiction.
And was that the Oxycontin?
Yes.
You said that was pretty prevalent in your high school up in Washington.
Yes. Yes, a lot of people were using it, and it just became a big epidemic. So many kids were getting addicted, and I mean, I would need it every single morning when I'd wake up. I'd just be crying because I was in so much pain, and I hated being addicted to something. But at first it was using to just escape from emotional damage that I didn't want to feel, and eventually it got to the point where I just couldn't stand using anymore, so I found methadone, and I got on methadone to get off of the Oxycontin, and I was on that for about 4 years, and I went to college and did pretty good. I still didn't work on that inner emotional damage that I had though, so after tapering off of that and going through the detox and stuff, I did end up relapsing again after about a year. And during that year, I still was very damaged. I was on antidepressants, anti-anxiety medications.
And this was after you got off the methadone?
Yes. Yes.
So you were still using a lot of other types of drugs, like the, like you said, the anti-anxiety and a lot of those things, right? That they actually even put you on some of those when you were weaning off.
Yes.
When you were in detox, weaning off of the methadone. Is that correct?
Yes. I didn't realize how damaged I was, and I didn't want to face those feelings or anything. I didn't think that counseling would help, so I just tried to take those medications thinking that it would make me feel better, and it didn't. It just made things 20 times worse, and I ended up going back out drinking, and then getting addicted to opiates again, and then to heroin. And I was on that for a couple years. I ended up getting a charge. I got caught with heroin and got a charge and went to jail. They ended up giving me a rider program, which is like a rehab in the prison. I was in there for 7 months. And probably within 2 weeks in, I finally decided that I was just gonna surrender everything and just stop fighting it. And I pretty much just asked God to show me what I need to do to become, to not need those things, to be normal and just feel good and not have to go to drugs or anything.
So you kind of knew about God or whatever, you kind of raised in some sort of a religion or something, but was going into prison and having kind of this, whatever you want to call it, awakening or whatever, was it different than what you'd experienced prior to that in your exposure to religion or whatever?
Yes, it was completely different. I mean, I knew I would go to church and stuff on and off throughout my entire life, and I didn't fully believe any of it just because of what I've seen and people talking about it but not being about it. And so I didn't, and there was questions. I had many questions that I just didn't, so I thought that
Things that just didn't quite resonate
Yeah.
with you, things that didn't add up or make sense,
Yes, exactly.
I hear that a lot.
So this time I just decided to just let it all go and see what happens and learn. So after I laid it all down, stopped fighting it, my whole perception changed. Like right then and there, I had this awakening, and instead of seeing my whole entire world being out to get me and everything bad, I started to see everything good and all the blessings and stuff throughout my life.
So even feeling like being in jail was a blessing?
Definitely.
Actually?
Yes. I realized that I was there for a reason, that the things that I went through in my life happened for a reason, and that I need to learn how to overcome it. And there's so many people out there that are going through that same thing, and I thought that, if I was able to overcome it and get from such a deep, low place, that other people could see that and be able to do it too.
So from what you told me as I was coming out to the jail and visiting with you, really this was kind of, I guess, what you could say, a spirit-led type of experience. It wasn't that you were being taught anything in particular by anybody, really, other than just certain books showing up at a certain time and different synchronicities and serendipities or coincidences or whatever you would want to call it, where things began to happen for you that were just not normal things, right? Something in the unseen realm was happening for you. Is that correct?
Oh, yes.
Do you want to share some of those experiences?
Everything just started to fall into place. Like, I started to feel this peace that I've never experienced before. I started to feel this happiness that I thought I could only obtain through using drugs, anything. When I started to see the good in everything, it just seemed like everything started to work together. I then had like this hungry spirit to learn and try to figure out how to better myself. So all of a sudden, like, just all these books, all these questions, I started to pray and ask, certain questions that I had that I didn't understand on, everything, all the different things in the Bible, all the different things in living, and just all these amazing books started coming, and they were just answering all my questions. Everything was starting to make sense, and it was unbelievable, the feeling that I was feeling.
I remember the first time that I came out to visit you, and you had been kind of there for a while, and you'd been reading some of these books, and I remember when we first started talking, you said something about, one of us said something about reading Power versus Force, and like the other one of us said, oh my gosh, that's an awesome book, I read that book too, and then we found that so many of the books that I've been reading over the last number of years, which have just started to connect all these dots, right? And make so many things, being again raised in religion and being around the Bible, but so much of it not making sense, or seeing so much man-made doctrine, that so many of these things started making scripture make so much sense. Oh my gosh, that's what that's talking about, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I remember I looked forward every week to coming out and visiting you and saying, oh, what'd you read this week? I remember how fun that was. So yeah, it's like being on a treasure hunt, isn't it?
It
I
is.
mean, it's like
amazing.
finding so many new things, and I was like, ah! So it was really awesome for me to come out there and see the transformation taking place with you while you were out there.
Yeah.
So what happened once you got out?
So once I got out, I felt great. I was doing my devotions that I did every single day. I was going out on walks every morning on the Greenbelt, and another thing that I noticed is I was just so much more thankful, and I could see like just beauty in everything. Like, nature was beautiful, like every person that I met, every encounter was meaningful. It's just everything started to synchronize, and it was really awesome.
I have to ask you really quick, because I love the story about the butterflies and, was it ladybugs or something? Before we go on, and I'm sorry for me to go backwards, but I just love that story. I think you should share these guys about your butterfly and ladybug experience.
Okay, so while I was on the rider, I would go outside a lot and just kind of meditate and soak up the sun. And I kept seeing these butterflies, and I was like, oh, that's awesome, because butterflies represent change. And they were just beautiful butterflies. They were always crossing my path. And one day I was walking up to the track, and a butterfly crossed my path, and I was like, oh, cool, cool. And this girl saw me, and she was like, oh, did you know that butterflies and ladybugs and beetles mean a good omen? And I was like, oh, really? That's cool. I kind of had a feeling. And then like a couple days later, I went up to the track, and just butterflies were crossing my path. So I was walking around the track with one of the other girls, and a ladybug landed on me, and I was like, oh, how cool, And I was like, yeah, butterflies and ladybugs are supposed to be a good omen. And then my friend was like, who are you, And then I come and sit down, and I'm with another friend, and all of a sudden these flying beetles came and swarmed me. They were like swarming me, and I was like running away from them, and they were just flying at me and stuff. And I was like, what the heck? Okay, so flying beetles, ladybugs, and butterflies. I mean, sheesh, in abundance. That must mean there's really good omens going for me. But it was crazy. Yeah, my friend was like, who are you?
I love so much. It's like reading the book The Alchemist. He talks a lot about
that's where she got it from.
Oh, is that right? Yeah. And so many of these things that we've been kind of taught were not okay or whatever. I remember when my kids were starting to watch some anime, I think it was, or something about Full Metal Alchemist. I'm like, oh no, you can't watch that. That's bad. And I never looked at it to see what it was, And now I realize that I'm an alchemist. I realize that alchemy is about transforming from one thing into another. That's what transformation is that completely changing from one thing to another. And that's what I see has taken place for me in my life over the last 6 years. And that's what I saw happen to you from when you went in to the Rider program so broken and so in so much pain and so stuck. And I had tried to help you before and knew that I couldn't. I couldn't. I just had to trust that Spirit would do it if that was the case, because I couldn't do it. And so to see that transformation that took place for you, and seeing you come out and seeing now you had all this stuff to face, and it's a little overwhelming. I get honestly a little ticked off at the system, what they set up when you had no car, you had no money, you had no job. You have to go to treatment thing twice a week, no way to get there, have to pay for your probation thing, have to do 90 meetings in 90 days. Well, how the heck are you supposed to get there? So you're living with mom and dad, your grandma and grandpa, and they have to drive you. It's just like, they're setting people up to fail. It made me really angry, actually. But we had I noticed that there was quite a course of miracles that transpired after that. And that was all part of, in the beginning when you were doing well, wasn't it? Do you want to share a little bit about that as well?
Another thing, yes, that I was really worried about while I was in was my license. I didn't have a license for the past 6 years. I had got many tickets throughout my life for driving without a license, driving without insurance, gotten DUIs, just all sorts of, I was just a reckless driver. I got reckless driving charges, tickets galore, speeding tickets. So I had thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of tickets that I never thought I was going to get paid. I never thought I was going to be able to get my license back. It was just this big, deep, dark hole I was in. And that's another thing. You felt
really hopeless.
I did feel hopeless. And those things were the things that wanted me just to give up and stuff. So
I could see where you would feel like giving up.
Yeah, so just so many times I just stayed where I was because I didn't think that there was anything that could happen to get me out of that. But miraculously, I prayed about that, and I was like, what am I going to do, How am I going to be able to get around and get all this stuff done without a license? And it's going to take me forever to be able to figure that out, So I pretty much prayed and meditated and envisioned myself holding my license and thought of all the different good things that would come by me getting my license, how it would not only help me, it would help the people that care for me so they don't have to bring me all over the place. It would help my probation. and how thankful and grateful that I would be to be able to have it. So after I had been thinking about that, my grandpa came and visited me, and he
And is this when you were still in jail? Okay.
He said, well, I know you're going to be having a hard time getting around and everything, so I want to take care of your debts for your tickets to get your license back.
Did that just blow your mind?
That blew my mind. So, you know, miracles can happen, and it was like $10,000 worth of tickets that he took care of for me. And that seems
He's
like
quite a guy, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
And stuff like that seems impossible, but it, you know, like when you're doing good and you surrender, like things just fall together for your favor. They really do. Like whether it's somebody else gets touched and helps you, or something happens where you are able to do something, you know, that you never thought that you could do. The impossible things like just happen when you start to follow this path. So, yeah, and I got out, got those paid. I had to go to Washington because I had a couple warrants that were still holding them, but my aunt, on her heart, got touched and decided to bring me up there, and miracle after miracle happened up there. They dropped the warrants. They didn't even charge me bail for them. And I was able to get my license that weekend. So within a month after I got out of jail, I had my license.
Yeah, that was quite a trip, wasn't it?
It was a trip.
Yeah, we just went expecting. We went expecting miracles, and that's what we found.
Exactly.
But then what happened, Leigha, once we got back? Because you kind of started going back down into a slippery slope, and I could feel that that was happening. I kind of felt like you were avoiding me a little bit, which maybe I made that up, but that's what it felt like. And we weren't seeing a lot of each other. I could tell that you were getting depressed. I could tell that you were kind of sliding back into some of your old habits, or perhaps. And tell me about that a little bit. What happened?
So after a little while, I started to get distracted by the world, get back into all the different stressors and stuff, which is very easy to do. I stopped practicing what I had learned. And I got back into an unhealthy relationship that I was in prior to that. I wasn't avoiding you. I just was, you know, I just kind of went off the wrong way.
Do you think that, you know, they say that you're like, you are like the, you become like the 5 people that you hang around with the most. Do you think that that had anything to do with what started happening for you at that time?
Definitely, and I don't like to blame other people for my stuff at all, but it definitely does. Like if they are, you know, unhappy, you know, unconscious people that aren't, you know, trying to better themselves and stuff, your energy just tends to go down to theirs.
Right.
You know, so you could kind of be equal with the people that you're around.
Right.
So
yeah, it seems like it's unfortunately a lot harder we can be at a high vibration, and it's harder for us to necessarily bring other people up to our level of frequency, unless, you know, there's a lot of us that are the same, but we tend to go down, you know, down to that lower vibration. So. What shifted for you though? I mean, you were kind of headed, I felt like you were kind of headed in a not good way, and what happened for you then? What changed that around again for you?
Well, I was feeling overwhelmed and stressed, so yeah, I went kind of back down into that depression phase, because I was kind of overdoing it and stuff, and getting back in that relationship, but I decided that I needed to work on myself again. I decided that I need to come first. I need to stop trying to help, you know, the person I was in a relationship with when he's not trying to help himself. So I decided to leave him again, and work on myself again. I came back and started doing transformation groups, and that helped tremendously. It reminded me of all the different things that I learned and practiced. And it brought me right back up.
For a quick second, just for the audience so that they know what that is, I do something called personal transformation groups, and it's essentially where we get in a group of 6 people and with myself or another facilitator, and we focus on these new ideas that we're learning about being powerful creators and about the reality of energy and vibration and how our thoughts and our words, affect our reality. And the important thing about that is that you are now surrounding yourselves with other people who are focusing on the same thing that you are, and that is to create an amazing life, and realizing that we have the power. We have the power to create, and that we're not just victims. And so many people, because we've experienced things in our childhood to where we've always felt like life happens to us, instead of what you begin to understand is life actually happens for us. And if we can recognize that and realize all these experiences that I've been through, even though they might be really, really crappy experiences, if I can change my perception and my paradigm about those things and go, oh my gosh, maybe I actually even scripted that. Maybe I actually called that into my experience to make me who it is that I came here to be, right? Do you feel like that's accurate in your case?
Definitely, 100%. That is very accurate.
And
Everything.
I am so excited, Leigha, to see you back on the path, so to speak, and practicing these things that we've been learning, sharing and supporting with other people. We do group texts with the people in our transformation groups, and it's so fun to see where somebody will be really struggling, even from one moment to the next. Remember the day that we had one gal who left on a high doing great after group, and within an hour she went home and life happened. She texts, I'm like falling apart, I'm having a meltdown, right? And so through the encouragement of the group, the support and the encouragement, and reminding her of things that she probably already knew, to be still and go inward, and one of my mantras, as you know, is to embrace your circumstance with gratitude and look for the gift. And as she did that, and she was able to say, okay, I'm out of alignment, I'm feeling some pain, so there's a gift here for me. What is it? And she found it, didn't she? And it was just a beautiful thing. So I love that. And I love to see you doing this work. I love to see what a leader you're becoming. And I know that you really have a heart for helping other young people to get out of the bondage of these limiting beliefs that we create for ourselves through things that happen to us. So is there anything else that you'd like to share before we wrap this up? Any encouragement or anything like that you have?
There is so much that I've learned that I don't feel like I could get it all, in one tape. But I definitely encourage anybody to join a transformation group and learn these things. Because, when you hear about it at first, it doesn't sound, like when you're in a rut, in a hole, and you're not happy with life, it doesn't sound that exciting to do. And you look back and realize that everything that you learned and all the work you put in is totally worth it. You learn that everything that you go through in your life is all perfect and amazing, and you do learn not to be the victim anymore.
So even when you're having really crappy things happen to you, you think that it's really perfect?
Yes, I do. Now it's amazing. When bad things happen, I look for, just like you say, I embrace it and I look for the blessing in it, and I learn from it, and I realize these little things happen to us so we can continue growing. And I am totally an alchemist too, because I like to grow and evolve into a better person every day, and you can't grow more and more unless you go back a little bit and have to learn from things,
Yeah.
And then these things you can help other people through.
Yeah. And I think it's important to remember that part of this process is that you learn and you grow and you move forward, and then you kind of slip back sometimes and backslide or whatever, and it feels like, did I even learn anything? Or is this stuff even real?
Yeah.
Or is it just a bunch of crazy stuff, or what? And then all of a sudden, something will happen and get you kind of back going again.
Yeah.
And that's why it is so important that we surround ourselves with other people that are also wanting to learn and wanting to grow and wanting to change.
Exactly.
And that it is possible. And there is hope.
Yeah.
So thank you, Leigha. You're really such a bright light. I appreciate you taking time to come and share with our audience here, just about that. Doesn't matter how dark your life feels right now, there is hope. And you are the one that holds the powers. You are the one, the only one who can change your stars, so to speak.
Yep, and anybody can change their life around. No matter how deep, dark, horrible you think it is, you can turn your life around and turn it into something amazing. We're creators and we create our own life. We can create something horrible or we can create something amazing.
Yeah.
And it's possible.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.